Well, I'm hoping today is the day that I finish the planting for this year with double crop beans. So we're gonna get started right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Rusty Oliver Man, and I'm gonna stand in the shade while I talk because it's hot out here already, and it's not even noon yet. But yesterday, I went back out there and worked that up. It turned out a couple more times, and it was still just as wet as could be, but it seemed to be making a little bit of progress, so I went with it. Then last night, I spread fertilizer on it, and I went back out there again and worked it. And I think one pass with the field finisher there, and then we'll be ready to plant it. So that's what I'm fixing to do. There's a tractor going down the road with a big wheel rake, so some hay being done. I've noticed that in a lot of places. It is super hot here and humid. I mean, that's just the way it is. I'm kind of glad I did my hay first because it just got hotter. So we're gonna get headed out there. I tell you though, another thing that's kind of weighing on me, I guess, and other people around here too, but farm accidents, man. Somebody, there's been several where kids have been killed in the last few weeks, and it's just, it's a rough deal. It shouldn't be that way, but stuff happens, you know. The first one was probably, I don't know, 2 weeks ago by now. It was actually the son of my crop insurance adjuster, and I had just talked to her like the day before, and the kid was like 16 years old, and him and a friend were working on pickup, and somehow it fell off, and that was all, you know. And so that was a really sad deal. And then now, just when was it, maybe 2 days ago, it finally came out in the paper today, but a little 4-year-old boy run over by a combine. They had just been riding. Actually, him and the grandmother both died from this, but they had just been riding in the combine was the story I heard. And then you know, somehow the wires got crossed. I guess when the combine was leaving, the little boy maybe wanted to ride some more and ran after and got run over, and then the grandmother got run over, you know, trying to stop that from happening. And what do you do? You know, friends, it could happen to anybody. And yeah, I mean, you know how it is if you are on a farm. It's never the thing that you're doing for the first time that causes the problem. It seems like all the accidents you read about are things that you've done 1,000 times because you just get comfortable with it. I mean, it's like this, you know. I grew up on this tractor. Thousands of hours have spent in the seat. So I take shortcuts sometimes that I probably shouldn't take because I'm used to it, and one of these days I'll probably pay for it. But it's just sad when it happens to a kid because, you know, what do you do? And I really feel bad for, not just for the families and the parents and that, but I feel bad for the people that were there when it happened, you know. Whether they were the reason for it or not doesn't matter, but those people have to live with the thought, you know, what could I have done differently? Maybe if I had done something, it wouldn't have happened, you know. And that's kind of a hard burden to bear, I think, for people, like in the case of that 16-year-old kid. I mean, his friend that was there helping him or whatever, that's going to be a hard thing for him to have to live with, because even though it's not his fault, you're always going to be thinking, what could I have done, you know? And that's I guess the message is just pray for the people all the time, because, you know, accidents happen and you just never know what's gonna go down. And everybody else, be safe, I guess, is the moral of the story. I've always said probably the two most the two most dangerous farm machines to be around is a combine and a round baler, because you just can't see on either one. And so that's, you know, visibility that makes it super dangerous. Of course, there's a lot of other stuff that's heavy and sharp and could kill you instantly too, but I don't know. It's just a sad thing that you hear about, and you always think, well, that's not going to happen to me or happen around here, but it does. So you just gotta, you know, learn from it and try to live your life. It's not an easy thing. Well, now that we're all good and depressed, I guess we'll get on to this task. I was gonna check the oil on this, so let me do that. And then we'll get headed out there, and hopefully we can end this day on a happy note by getting this double crop situation done. All right, we are going to hope that the air conditioner holds out today, because if any day we needed it, today is the day. And this tractor is a lot of glass, so it gets really hot in a hurry, you know. So I thought of something else about what we were talking about, not to keep bringing up sad things, but I guess one thing people don't realize about a farm accident versus like if you just had a car accident in town or something is, the struggle is you have to keep living there and working there in that place where the accident happens. You know, I thought of that several years ago. There was a father-son that had an accident, you know, right there in the farmyard. And, you know, if you lived even in a house in town and you had an accident at the house, you could just go move, you know, you wouldn't have to stay there. But with a farm situation, you're gonna live there forever. So that's kind of a hard thing to do too, to have to deal with the bad memories, you know. If you had an accident right here in this field, you know, every time you drove past here, you'd be thinking about that. So that's a hard thing. My great-grandpa actually died in the field, and I know Grandpa was always, I mean, that was always, it would get to him just talking about it. And I'm sure my uncle can chime in with more details because he was there too. But basically, the story I got was they were picking corn with the Oliver 77 and the mounted picker, and they got stuck way back. They were about as far away from the house as you could get, and great-grandpa said he was going to walk up and get another tractor to pull them out. And Grandpa said, you know, you could hear him. Him and his brother were still standing out there where the tractor was stuck, and he said you could hear him start the tractor up in the shed, and he said we could hear him coming up the driveway, and he said all at once the tractor went to full throttle, and he said, Grandpa said, something's not right. And so they went out, you know, started walking towards that direction, and they saw that he was laying in the middle of the driveway. He'd fell over backwards, had a heart attack, fell off the back of the tractor, and the tractor, I think, like went off towards the woods and was up against a tree, sitting there, whatever. But I mean, it happens, and sometimes you can be in really good shape, and I don't know. I mean, I know that, like Grandpa said, he said what was really funny about that, or not funny, wasn't the word he used, but he said that day his dad was in such a good mood. He said he was having he said you never would have guessed that something bad was going to happen. So I don't know. You never know when it's your time, so make the most of it, I guess, is the moral of the story. Let's go play in the dirt. Let's hope Buddy the dog doesn't do something stupid and get smushed. He's getting more careless in his old age. He runs out in front of stuff, so that's kind of concerning. See, he doesn't understand that we're not. There we go. Once you pass him, he realizes that we're not going here, and then he'll turn around and go back home. Somebody asked me about that, several people have. How does he know, or how far does he follow you? Well, usually to right here, the second driveway, he'll know that if we're not turning in there, then there's no point in following along. So anyway, I'll bring you back here in a little bit. All right. I know that I said I was going to bring, I thought that I was going to have to use the Landau, but this ended up working up so good that I think this is going to be adequate. I'm kind of shocked myself. I mean, it turned out okay. I think because most of that like at home when I worked it up, it was that same kind of wild grass or whatever that had grown, but now it got past its prime, and it was like almost like woody straw, and it chopped up a lot better. So at any rate, we'll see what happens. It's still, I mean, that's working pretty good because we're on a hill, but there's still some very wet places out here, and I'm hoping that by waiting a day and not doing this part last night, that maybe I'll be able to get planted farther, you know, because there were some places yesterday that were borderline not going to do it. So anyway, we'll do the best we can, and that's all we can do. I mean, I need to come out here with that pole saw and trim some trees. I really need to trim some trees right at the entrance, but that is neither here nor there. I couldn't get that no matter how hard I tried, so we're gonna have a little strip in there that's not planted, but I chiseled away at it pretty good, so. this up. My AC quit working. I don't know what's happening. I looked down and I think the belt is still on, so maybe it blew the fuse this time or something. Whatever. I wasn't gonna stop just to fix it. We're just gonna roll on. Now we'll get ourselves out of here. And then, yeah, go home and get the planter and then just bake in the sun out here for the next few hours. But it'll be fine. All right, we're ready to go. It's still a hot, miserable mess out here outside, but we gotta go. It ain't gonna get no cooler. I'll have to call after a while and see if Dad can come pick me up and bring me back here to get the rest of the seed, because I'll need to fill up again. You know, it doesn't hold enough to do a whole field. So yeah. Today there's kind of a little bit of a breeze. That helped. Yesterday there was zero breeze and it was miserable. I gotta get that. My handle won't quite stay down and keep that light off. I'll have to adjust that. At some point in this field, the last one. So it'll be interesting to see what decides to break for no reason. guess I forgot to film, but you've seen it plant before. I think I came out about right. I bet this one's empty again. It just ran out. Oh, no, hey, we did all right. I thought that it was going to be out while I was finishing up this entranceway. Good deal. So we have just a little handful left in there. We will assess the situation of at home, that wet corner, if it's worth trying to get in there and fill that in, or if it's better to just forget it. I'm leaning towards it's probably going to be better just to forget it, because what we will run down to get there, I think, will be worse than if we just leave it alone. We just got to take it as a loss. I don't know. Hope I can make it home, and then we'll be done. We did it. I just got a text back from the guy in charge of the spraying, and he said they'll catch that double crop the next time they're out here, because he's got a bunch of places more to go yet tonight. So I said, whatever is more convenient for you. I'm glad that they'll do it for me. So, Buddy the dog, what have you been doing? Trying to find a shady place? He's probably been out there licking that spray, who knows? Oh my, I'm just glad to be done. Looks like I got a calcium tire in the ordeal, so probably have to give that some attention now. But I'm just glad to be done. And it took about a month this year. I think I started like the last week of May, and now we're at like the last week of June before we got done. I'm going here to stand in the shade because it's still hot. So at any rate, now we can focus on fixing all of our failures, because there are many. There always is. Actually, this year it wasn't as bad. I mean, typical stuff, some bearings out and whatnot. You know, we used some equipment we've never used before, like this field cultivator. So I'm not upset about that at all. It did what I wanted. So tomorrow's big project is going to be, the dealer just called in town and my new to me hay mower is there. So I'm going to try to go get that, pull it home, and I'll bring you along for that adventure, because I'm sure it'll be terrible to try to weave through town with that, but we'll see what happens. So until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.